The parasha is Parashat
Mishpatim.
I'll tell you the truth, I'll be honest with you, it's hard for me to talk about anything and pretend like nothing ever happened, because a lot have happened, and I don't know. I'm just feeling a little upset over this whole thing, especially of the latest news that not only we knew, unfortunately, that Ariel and Kfir Bibas, Hashem Yinkom Damam, are not with us anymore, but they were actually brutally murdered by some lowlifes. And on top of that, the mother is not with them. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm very upset. Of course, the question is, what can we do ourselves about that, about our situation that we are in as a nation? And thinking about it, maybe this parasha will somehow shed some light on what we could do to make sure it doesn't happen again. Also due to the events, whatever happened in the Borough Park last week. So this year is going to be dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat HaKadoshim Ariel ben Shira Bibas and Kfir ben Shira Bibas. Aleim Shalom Hashem Yinkom Damam. For that I want to say, El Nekamot Hashem, El Nekamot Ufiyah. Hashem will revenge their blood. It says, V'shesh shanim tizra et artzecha ve'asafta et tevuata, and you should harvest, and you should plant for 6 years, and you should harvest its crops. Ve'ashvi'it tishmetenna unetashta, and in the 7th year you should not work the land. Ve'achlu evyoneh amach, ve'itram tochal chayat hasadeh, and the poor people of your nations will benefit from whatever is in your field, and whatever is left, the animals will eat. And this is what you should do to your vineyards and to your orchards and so on and so forth. 6 days you should do your work. And on the 7th day you should keep the Sabbath. Why? In order for your oxen and your donkeys and your animals to rest. And all the people that are dependent on you also should rest. And everything I told you, you should keep, and the name of other gods you should not mention, and you should not cross your lips. Shalosh regalim tachog li bashana, you should celebrate to me 3 times a year. Et chag hamatzot tishmor shivat yamim, Passover you should keep for 7 days, and for 7 days you could eat matzah, kasher tziviticha, as I commanded you. Lemoed chodesh ha'aviv, ki bo yatzata mimitzrayim, and you should make sure it comes out what we call today spring, or when the harvest, when the grains in the field are at its peak, that's called aviv. That's when you should keep it, because that's the time in which you came out of Egypt. Velo yirau panai rekam, you should not come to visit me empty-handed. V'chag hakatzir b'korei ma'asecha asher tizra basadeh, and chag hakatzir, which is Shavuot, which you're going to also plant in the field. V'chag ha'asif, in which you gather, which is Sukkot. Be'ospecha et ma'asecha min hasadeh, you should gather whatever you came from the field. Well, that's a very loaded paragraph with a lot of things that really, in a way, don't make sense. It looks like you're talking to me about the sabbatical year, and then you should keep Shabbat because of this. It's like, what's going on here? What's going on here? And I would ask you to really pay attention to that. It says in Pasuk Yud Zayin, Shalosh Pa'im Bashana Yirei Kol Zechurcha Et Penei Adon Hashem, right? Said 3 times a year, all of your males should make your pilgrimage, and they should come and see the glory of God in the temple, which is in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, which is a occupied territory by the Arabs. They occupied our land. And I think it's just stop already with this. I'm sick and tired of all this. I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm going to tell you something else also, which I want you to do. I'm going to take 1 second in a detour. What I want you to do is the following. I want you to stop apologizing on the fact that you are Jews. And I want you to be able to push back anybody who comes or waves a flag in your face or anything like this. This is not, we should make sure that Germany and whatever happened in Europe in the 30s and the 40s should not happen again. So if somebody comes to demonstrate into your neighborhoods and try to intimidate you, you should be able to intimidate them back. Because it doesn't seem like the popo, like the police is going to be doing anything about it. So you know what? Push back. It's enough apologizing and being a Jew. It's enough. Enough is enough. And you should answer back, and you should open your mouth, and you have a mouth, and do whatever it needs to be done. Of course, in a legal way, but don't take it. Don't turn the other cheek. That's not what we should be doing. It's enough with this. That doesn't help us. Just annoyed already. For this proximity of the mitzvot, between mitzvah Shemitah and to the mitzvah of the commandment of doing pilgrimage 3 times a year, it says in the Mechilta de Rabbi Ishmael, in Masechta de Kaspa, Parashat Chet, in the Mechilta it says, V'chag HaKatzir bikure ma'asecha. Chag HaKatzir, Shavuot, is when you're going to bring all your produce, and it says, Ne'emar shalosh regalim b'shvi'it. Right? And it says over there, Shelo istarsu shlosha regalim bimkomam. In other words, we should do it so we should keep the tradition of the three holidays which we have. Again, it's a little bizarre because the mentioning of the three holidays, which is Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, one after the other, exactly after the mentioning of Shvi'it, really refers to the Shvi'it in the year of the Shemitah. That's what it seems like. And the reason for that, or the purpose of that, is to renew us or to teach us that even in the time of Shemitah, because what happened? I mean, every year I'm supposed to make the pilgrimage, but what am I supposed to bring when it's Shemitah? I mean, what is there for me to harvest? What is there for me to gather? What is there for me to bring as Bikurim in Shemitah? There's nothing I can do about it. So the chidush of this pasuk is to teach us that even in this time you have to make the pilgrimage, because you cannot stop, or you need to make sure the memory or the practice of these holidays is going to be continuous all the time. And you should make this pilgrimage during this time as well. However, what we call the Have Amina, what I would have said, or what I could have said about the Midrash is not really that clear. Why do you need to tell us that the commandment of those regalim also takes place in Shnat HaShemitah, during the sabbatical year? Why should we think that during the sabbatical year there should not be holidays? I mean, today we don't bring any produce to Beit HaMikdash because, again, the Temple Mount is occupied by Muslims. But nevertheless, we celebrate those holidays. So why is that? So Rav Meir Simcha Midvinsk, the Meshech Chochmah, says that the idea of the holidays, which says here in regards to what we call the Aviv, the spring, the Katzir, the harvesting, and then the gathering, and he says the following: V'have amin. I would say it's shelo yishakchu. It should not be forgotten. Why? Ki leHashem haaretz. The land is for God. God owns the land, and it's a mitzvah to show 3 times a year really who is the boss here. And as much as the vessel needs to come to the master, right? So that's what we need to do. However, in Shvi'it, during the sabbatical year, that everybody knows already that, as we say, leHashem haaretz, that Hashem is the boss, right? So and as we said before, we don't plow, we don't plant and so on and so forth. So I would have thought to say that that's what we need to say to make sure that those 3 holidays would stay in place. However, the aspect that it's emphasized in mentioning the 3 holidays in our parasha is really agricultural, point of view. It's all about, agriculture, right? And it says Aviv, Katzir, Ve'asif, as we said before. However, we would think that the purpose of making pilgrimage during those 3 holidays is really, as we said, to tell us that the Hashem owns the land. But we would say that maybe it's not the case. What do I mean by that? I mean that during the whole days of the sabbatical year, you're not allowed to work the land, and therefore every day by day of this year is a reminder of this thing. Therefore, the Kedusha Shvi'it is so high. Why the Shvi'it is so kadosh? Because every single day of the year is a reminder, which in a regular year is 3 times a year. This is every single day is doing that. And that's why the Torah needs to tell me that even though you remember every single day that God is the boss of the land, still you have to do it 3 times a year. However, after this, when it's already clear to us that as we said, that God owns the land, right? So maybe there's another reason of making pilgrimage, and we need to explain what is really the purpose of this commandment of making a pilgrimage. Now, if you look at the Mechilta, it says Shalosh Pa'im Bashana Yera'eh, as we said before. So therefore, the Mechilta asks, Lama ne'emar? Why is already says Va'alo kvar ne'emar El Pnei Hashem Adon Hashem? It's already said that. Why do you need to tell me this again? You tell me to think twice and 3 times. Why do I need that? And it says, the Mechilta asks, U'ma Talmud lomar Elokei Israel? And why does it need to tell me the gods of Israel? Isn't it the God of the world? What is it? Dafka Israel. What's about this? It says the Mechilta, Ela al Israel yichad shemo beyoter. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us an extra boost by the fact that we are Am Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu guards, yes, He's the boss of the whole entire universe. God. However, He's our boss more than everything else. And the pasuk that tells us 3 times a year, Yera'eh kol zechucha, goes over and over again in Parashat Ki Tisa. In Parashat Ki Tisa, it says, Shalosh pa'im b'shana Yera'eh kol zechucha et pnei Hashem Elokecha, et pnei Adon, Hashem, right? And what does it say over there? Elokei Israel, the gods of Israel. And the addition of gods of Israel in Parashat Ki Tisa, according to that Medrash, is really to tell us, yes, the God is God of the world, master of the universe, but especially is the God of Am Israel, of the nation of Israel. And as he says, Al Yisrael yichet shemo beyoter. Based on that, the Meshech Chochmah writes the following: מפני שהשם יתברך דבוק אל נפשות האומה הישראלית והמה כחלק מן הכלל. הקדוש ברוך הוא is attached to the souls of the Jewish people. And by this attachment, the Jewish people are a part of what we call God. And that is very important to understand. And this is, and what it says in Eicha, V'zeh chelki Hashem amra nafshi. And this is my portion, Hashem, my soul said. Why? Because a person does not have the ability, human does not have the ability to attach himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu 24/7, 365 days. It's impossible. We can't. It's very hard. It's very hard to do so, right? And it says, because it says over there, "V'asafta degancha," right? We say you should gather, you should do this, you should do this. That's why comes the Torah. It says that you should make the pilgrimage to go to the Temple Mount to actually be united. They do this all together. When they are going to the fields. Now pay close attention. When you are going to do your fields, going to the fields and working or doing your trabajo, whatever it is you do, he writes a word which is very, very powerful. He says, "V'yu ke'ever ha'metuldal." In other words, they're going to be of a limb of a body is about to be detached. Why? Because if I could put it back and rejuvenate, it's not mekabel tum'ah. In other words, you see from here, Rabotai, how important it is to see yourself as a part of the klal, as a part of Am Yisrael. I do believe that the problems that we have nowadays is due to the fact that we were not united at all aspects. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us the Torah to unite around. And yet, sometimes we use the Torah to break away from each other. And that causes us problems. Look, unfortunately, today, the bodies of the Bibas family was returned. The whole, not only Israel, the whole entire world, but in Israel, people were standing when the ambulances were carrying them to the pathologies over there to check what's going on. People were standing out, waving flags, saluting them, and singing the tikvah as an honor for them. That united them. But you don't understand that if you don't unite when you can, there's going to be another way to be united. Why did we have to let it go down this way? Why couldn't we be united? Like we go to Bet HaMikdash, we go to the Temple Mount. We are all equal. And when you go to Bet HaMikdash, there's no Sfaradim, there's no Ashkenazim, there's no secular, there's no Shmecular, there's no nothing. We're all Jews, we're going together. That's the whole purpose. You want Bet HaMikdash to be built and you're not united? You see yourself as a separate part of the Jewish people? What's wrong with you? I'm going to tell you something that might, I don't know, get you upset, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you are not willing to see yourself as a part of Am Yisrael, when you are a Jew and you see yourself as a part of Am Yisrael, do me a favor, change your religion and get out of here, because we don't need this among us. Whatever we'll have little, we're going to be united, it's going to be okay. We don't need people who don't see themselves as a part of Am Yisrael. We don't need that. And I'm willing to say that. I didn't say keep Torah mitzvot. See yourself as a part of Am Yisrael. Don't say, let him spill his blood, I'm going to sit here. Don't let them all say, I'm not going to do it because of this or because... That's not our way. The Torah comes to teach us that through the mitzvah of pilgrimage. You want to do something? You want to fix this? Let me ask you a question. Why won't we all better our ways? Why wouldn't we do things a little better? You want to show the world that God is the master of the universe, yet the Torah knew exactly where we're all going to be. What the Torah says to us: don't take interest, don't take bribery. Because you could be the greatest genius in the world. Once you get bribery, you're being bribed, you lost all your smartness, all your genius is lost. When you take interest, you don't have mercy on the other person that needs the money, and you give him interest. You know what? We don't want you. And we say, certain people, we don't call them for minyan. Well, you don't have mercy for people. That's not the Jewish way to do things. Parashat Mishpatim, after the Torah comes and gives us in a way almost like a Jewish constitution of how you should conduct yourself. You want to show that God is master of the universe? Why don't you act like that? I just don't understand. Again, once you take in bribery, you lose your views distorted, as the Torah told us. Ya'aver einei chachamim. You're going to make the wise men blind. They're going to give you a wrong thing, and it doesn't make a difference. You can finish the Shas 50,000 times. Once you get bribery, your perspective is already messed up. You guys are late. See, there's some children. Okay? So the point of pilgrimage is really to attach yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do you attach yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rabotai? By attaching yourself to Klal Yisrael. By being a part of Am Yisrael. Not by being a part of yourself. By separating. That's why Lashon Hara is bad. That's why gossip is bad. That's why a person who tries to separate people is bad. And at the end, you could tell by a person's behavior how much he really believes in God or believes what he really says he is. You make a simcha. You don't invite your friend? Why? It's not good for you. Okay. Guess what? You don't want me to be a part of you. Beseder, not a problem. One day you're not going to be a part of me either. But not because I choose, because you chose. You put yourself out. Don't come crying. That's why we share smachot together. That's why we share pain and we share happiness. We see ourselves as a part of the other person, as a limb of the body. Let me ask you a question. If I'll come to you, I'm going to ask you, listen, give me one finger. Which finger do you want me to cut from you that's going to hurt you the least? What do you mean? Every finger will hurt. How can you give up on a Jew? How could you make a Jew separate? How can you do that? How you cannot see yourself as a part of the people? You don't care. How can you give somebody loans and interest? But you don't have a heart? How can you take bribery? Aren't you smart? And that's exactly what the Torah tells us. And this attachment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot be, as we said, all the time, because a person is always busy, most of the time. That's why that act of attachment attaches himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being narrowed down to 3 times a year. That's why, in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel, we need this more than everybody else, because that's why we have 2 days of Chagim. So when you coming and telling me next time, oh Rabbi, I can't take this, man. This is like 3-day holiday. What are you saying? You are missing out an opportunity to attach yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to Am Yisrael. So when the call comes, when we're going to hear the shofar, the blowing of the horn with the coming of Mashiach, don't think that you're getting on the plane. You're staying here. You know why? Because your ears are going to be filled with the noise of money that you created to yourself because you were not willing to hear your fellow Jew, his pain under the burden of his debt, and you gave him money and interest. Your ears are not going to hear that shofar. That blowing of the shofar is going to be limited only for those who can hear it. The same people who can hear every single day the heavenly voice that comes and says, Shuvu banim shovivim, right? Or about the Torah. Where is the Torah? I'm busy, I have an event, I can't learn Torah. You have an event? That's problem, no problem. You're going to miss Mashiach with your event. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to arrange you an event, you're going to be busy. Don't come crying. You're going to be lost. You're going to be alone. All these people that decide to go to events instead of studying Bet Medrash are not here today. Nor their children. You better watch out. You saw what happened. If you look at what happened in Israel until up to October 7th, it was divided, it was falling at the seams, and you don't believe me, try to remember all the things that I told you. Look what happened. You don't want to learn? It doesn't go through your head, it will go through your feet. You need to understand that. And when we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu 3 times a year, that has a hashpa'ah, that has an influence through the rest of the years, the days of the year. For the same thing as the Meshech Chochmah take the example from Halachot Trefot. It says regarding Halachot Trefot that even if it's meduldal, a limb, even if it's out of its socket or it's out of its place, if you could put it back in place, it's not metameh. It doesn't have metameh. It becomes impure because it still have life to it. So you don't be the ever in which is completely disconnected from the people. If you want to understand the concept of karet, that is a concept. If you look at all those averot, all these violations that a person does that is associated with karet, you would see that they are all have to do ultimately with a person seeing himself as a part of the Jewish nation or not. Shabbat, all these things. Pesach, and on and on and on and on. the karet would be all these things that you ultimately, these are actions that are supposed to beat us together. You violated, you don't want to be a part of it. You cut your own branch in which you were sitting on. I don't care how much is your IQ, but if you're cutting the branch in which you're sitting on, I don't think you're that smart. And I don't think all your IQ will help you. And the Meshech Chochmah says that the Dvekut Beklal Israel, going to shuls, celebrating, inviting people to your house on those regalim, is what gives us enough spiritual life, and what gives spiritual life for those who make the pilgrimage, and that's how they make it throughout the years. That's why even when they are doing their work and they're busy and so on and so forth, they still midabkim el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They still attach themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'itkadshu, and he says the following: B'kedushat yoshev kruvim liyot reuim. They would sanctify by the holiness of the Holy of Holies, by God Himself, to be appropriate for them to be called, that God will call them Elokei Israel. Then it is a state, a situation in which Olam Israel would sanctify. That's Yechut Shemo. The unification of God's name does not necessarily depend on the fact that you say L'Shem Yechud or not L'Shem Yechud, you do Netilat Yadayim or not. The sanctification of God's name has to do with how much you see yourself as a part of Am Israel, and what is it that you do for the unification of Am Israel. And so instead of saying L'Shem Yechud and rolling your eyes in the sockets, why won't you join together and bring people together and stop pulling yourself apart. Put Am Israel together. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yehev Rachamim on us, on all Am Israel. And Hashem Yinkom Damam Shekol HaNoflim, all those who fell and all those who were murdered. Yerotzetz Rosham Shel Reshaim, Amen Ken Yiratzon, Shabbat Shalom.